Today's topic is cloning vectors. In the chapter Biotechnology Principles and Processes, let us discuss what are cloning vectors, right? So, it is under 11.2.2. Our topic is cloning vectors. Let's try to understand what do you mean by cloning vectors. What are we doing? Biotechnology. Biotechnology is also called gene cloning. The desired gene what you want, you are cloning it, right? Many number of copies you are cloning it. So that means that's why it's called as a cloning. And what do you mean by vector? Vector is a vehicle. It is a carrier which takes our desired DNA till the host, which will multiply. So vector, we need it. The vector is helping us to clone the DNA. So they are called as cloning vectors. So what are vectors? Vectors are carriers. They are carriers of the target DNA. Vectors act as carriers of target DNA or alien DNA into host. Vector is helping to take our DNA into the host cell and the host cell will multiply it. Understood? So vector means it's a vehicle, it's a carrier. It transfers the DNA till the host cell, right? That's the topic, cloning vectors. Now, choice of vector depends on host, no? It depends on host because vector is carrying the DNA to the host. That means if one host is there, this is the vector. If second host is there, the vector changes again. So I am telling the choice of the vector depends upon the host. Now let us see if bacteria is the host. If the host is bacteria, then what are vectors? Let us find out. And if the host is a plant cell, then what is the vector? And next one, if the host is an animal cell who act as vectors to carry the desired DNA till the host. If the host is the bacteria, then the choice what we have is bacteria, almost all the bacteria will have small ring-like circular double-stranded DNAs which are called as plasmids. So that plasmid can take our DNA to the bacterial cell by a technique called transformation. If bacteria is the host, then plasmid can act as a vector. Plasmid can act as a vector, or we know that all the bacteria are infected by viruses and the viruses which infect bacteria are called bacteriophages. Now, if you give anything to the viral genome also can deliver the DNA into the bacterial cell. So, virus also acts as a vector. So, bacteriophage also we can tell. So, bacteriophages and plasmids are the vectors if bacteria is the host. Okay. Now, if plant cell is a host, then who is the vector? If plant is the host, how can you send the DNA into a plant? Whom you are choosing as a vector to deliver the DNA up to the plant cell. Into the plant cell means there is a bacteria which is called Agrobacterium tumefaciens. So the vector is Agrobacterium tumefaciens. There is a bacteria called Agrobacterium tumefaciens. What is this? This is a bacteria. Now, this bacteria will easily infect all the dicot plant cells. Agrobacterium tumefaciens will easily infect all the plant cells. Now, if you give anything to this bacteria, it can easily deliver your DNA till the plant cell. Now, if you want to send anything to the animal cell, then who is the vector? We know retroviruses easily infect the animal cells. Adenoviruses also easily infect the animal cells. So, if animal is the host, who is the vector? So, we can take adenovirus as a vector or retroviruses we can take as a vector to insert the DNA into the animal cells. Now, let's come back again. Our today's topic is cloning vectors. What do you mean by cloning? your desired DNA, let it be insulin DNA or vaccine DNA, whatever it is, that DNA you want to multiply, you want to produce many numbers. So you are going to clone the gene. So with the help of a vector, that's why it's called cloning vector. What is the concept of vector? Vector is a carrier. It transfers your DNA into the host cell. I wrote here, vectors, they act as carriers to take the target DNA or foreign DNA or alien DNA into the host cell. Now, choice of vector depends upon what are you choosing as a host. If bacteria is the host, who will deliver it? So, for example, if you want to go to America, what passport you need? If you want to go to another country, what passport you need? If you want to go to India, what passport you need? In the same manner, if you want to send something into bacteria, through whom are you sending? Plasmid can take the DNA and give it to the bacteria, or virus which infects bacteria is called bacteriophage, that can also take the DNA, give it to the bacteria. Okay. So plant, if it is the host cell, if you want to send any novel genes, new genes into a plant cell, then whom are you choosing as a vehicle to carry the genes? Means there is a bacteria which is called Agarobacterium tumefaciens. It will easily deliver the genes to the plant. So that becomes the vector. And if you want to send anything into an animal cell, how will you send it? We know all the animals are easily infected by viruses. The type of viruses which can easily infect the animal cells are adenoviruses and retroviruses. So these are the vectors. So we are going to read one by one vector in detail, which is also mentioned in NCERT textbook. Understood, children? So what is a vector doing? Vector is delivering the target DNA or alien DNA to the host, right? So take a screenshot fast. Right. Now, if you want to go somewhere out, so you have two choices, either to go in a two-wheeler or to go in a four-wheeler, right? In the same manner, if you want to deliver something into a host cell, you have two techniques. So, I am talking about foreign DNA can be introduced. Foreign DNA can be introduced into the host cell by two methods. Now, one method is called as direct method, direct introduction. We will try to send the foreign DNA directly into the host. The second method is called vector mediated method. What is the second method? Vector mediated method. Just now we discussed about the vector mediated method, right? If it is a direct method, then again, how will you send something directly into the bacteria, something directly into the plant cell, animal cell? Means if you want to send something into the bacteria directly, we have a technique called heat shock, cold shock method. What is that method called? So direct method of introducing the foreign DNA into bacteria. What is that method called? Heat shock, cold shock method. Heat shock, cold shock method. Children, I will talk about these techniques in the further classes. We are just listing them down. Now, if you want to send something into a plant cell directly, if you want to send something into a plant cell directly, what is the method? There's a gun called gene gun method, okay, which is also called ballistic method. So, direct introducing the DNA into the plant cell, what is that method called? I told it is gene gun method, or it is also called as ballistic method. And again, if the host is animal cell, then how will you directly introduce? Means without the vector. The technique is called micro injection. Hold the animal cell, do the injection. What is that technique called? Micro injection. So these are direct introducing techniques without the help of a vector. Now with the help of a vector, we just now wrote it, right? With the help of a vector, if it is bacteria, now come on, can you tell me if it is bacteria, plasmid is a vector or bacteriophage is a vector? Just now we wrote. And if it is a plant cell here, one bacterial point, second one vector mediated plant cell. Then I told it is by a bacterium called Agrobacterium tumefaciens. If you want to send anything into an animal cell with the help of a vector, the technique is either by adenovirus or by retrovirus. Understood? So these are the vectors with the help of vector. This is the one direct introduction technique. Understood? Now let us talk about only bacteria first. Right? Understood? For bacteria, these are the main things which they mention in NCERT, plasmids and bacteriophages. But usually Cohen and Boer also has done in E. coli only, right? They used bacteria only as a host, right? So bacteria, has a wide range of options. Bacteria has a wide range of options for vectors, but NCERT talks about only two vectors called plasmids and bacteriophages. We will see that also. If bacteria is the host, now madam is telling like there are wide range of options. What are they? Let's look at them. So the wide range of options what we are having, what I am telling are like this. One we know it is plasmid. Now the plasmid is one type of vector. Bacteriophage is another type of vector. And the third type of vector is a hybrid vector. I'll tell you what is a hybrid vector means. A third type of vector is a hybrid vector. What is hybrid vector means? If you mix a plasmid DNA with the phage DNA, then you will get hybrid vectors. Now, how much proportion are you mixing? If you are mixing major proportion of the plasmid DNA with only the cos sites of bacteriophages, then that is called phasemid. We have two types. One is called phasemid, other one is called cosmid. Children, both these two come under hybrid vectors. So the name itself is telling phasemid means phase proportion is more. Bacteriophage proportion is more, plasmid proportion is less. Mid means plasmid. If the phase proportion is more, plasmid proportion is less, that is called phasemid. In cosmid, mid proportion is more, plasmid proportion is more. In phases, only cos sites we will take. You will understand when I tell you about bacteriophages. Only cos sites with the plasmid DNA is called cosmid DNA. It's a hybrid vector. So plasmids can act as vectors, bacteriophages can act as vectors. Hybrid vectors means combination of both these can act as vectors. Then artificial chromosomes also we will try to make. So artificial chromosomes we call it as bacterial artificial chromosome also acts as a vector. Bacterial artificial chromosome also acts as a vector here. Then there's another concept called shuttle vector. What is shuttle vector means? We can transfer the genes into prokaryotic host. We can transfer the genes into eukaryotic host. So some vectors work only in prokaryotes. Some vectors work only in eukaryotes because the genes, regulation and all, everything becomes different. But there are certain types of vectors. Which can work both in prokaryotes also, eukaryotes also. Then they are called shuttle vectors, right? Shuttle vector operates in bacteria also, which is a prokaryote. Shuttle vector operates in eukaryote also, which is operate in yeast also, which is a eukaryote. Understood, children? So I told bacteria is a major organism for biotechnology and gene cloning. Scientists have identified various number of options for bacteria, right? And what are the vectors? So plasmid is a vector, bacteriophage is a vector, combination of this hybrid vector, artificial chromosome bacterial artificial chromosome is also a vector which can clone in prokaryotic cell also as well as in eukaryotic cell also is called as shuttle vector. We need to find out like what are the advantages of this, right? So now what do you mean by vector? Vector is the one which carries the desired DNA to the host cell. It's the one which carries the desired DNA to the host cell. Like I'm going, you gave me books. I need to deliver it to so and so person, right? So now depending upon my capacity, I can carry these many books only. Or if some other person is there, they can carry these many books like that. Depending upon the capacity, one vector can carry small DNA, another vector can carry moderate DNA, another vector can carry a bigger DNA, like that it is. Now, we will see that. Plasmid, if it acts as a vector, it can carry a maximum size of 0.5 to 1 kilobase pairs DNA only. So, what size of insert it can carry? What is the size of insert? How much DNA it can carry to the bacteria? That's called size of insert. 0.5 to 1 only. How much? 0.5 to 1 kilobase pairs DNA only it can carry. Understood? Means very less, because the plasmid size itself is 4 kilobase pairs. The plasmid size itself is 4 kilobase pairs. So then it cannot carry half of its weight also. It's carrying 1/4 of its weight. Now bacteriophages, bacteriophages, in one bacteria, many viruses will be there, right? So then bacteriophages can carry 9 to 23 kilobase pairs of the size of insert. Means it is carrying little longer DNA, right? Now whereas hybrid vectors, if you go, they carry more than this, 30 to 40 kilobase pairs of DNA at a stretch. So 40 plasmids will carry, one phasmid can carry. So you need to send it into 40 plasmids if you are taking plasmid. But here one phasmid can carry at a stretch 140 kilobase pairs of DNA. Then back, it is even big. So back will carry 50 to 100 kilobase pairs of DNA insert. Bacterial artificial chromosome, because it's chromosome, all these are extra chromosomes. Back can carry 50 to 100 kilobase pairs of DNA insert. And shuttle vector, it's a different concept, right? Shuttle vector means which can propagate in prokaryote also, in eukaryote also. But maximum, it can take 5 to 10 kilobase pairs only. 5 to 10 kilobase pairs of DNA insert only it can take. So, did you understand this board? What did we discuss? We understood what is a vector. Why is it called as a cloning vector? Because it is cloning your foreign DNA, alien DNA. Now, introducing the DNA into the host is of two types. Direct introducing or introducing with the help of vector. If it is direct introducing, three techniques are there. Into the bacteria, give the shock. Heat shock, cold shock. If it is a plant, gene gun method or ballistic method. Sending anything into animal cell, injection method, micro injection method. Vector mediated method, if it is bacteria, NCERT tells there are two vectors. Plasmid is one vector, bacteriophage is another vector. If it is plant cell, there is a bacteria which can easily infect all the dicot plants. It is Agarobacterium tumefaciens. Animal cell, either adenovirus will take or retrovirus will take. And then I told our choice means our preferable choice of host is always bacteria. So that's why scientists have explored bacteria and they have came up with n number of vectors. This is one, second one, third one, fourth one and fifth one. Quickly take a screenshot. Right. Now NCERT mentioned only about plasmids and bacteriophages. So we'll talk only about these two first, right? So now I'm going to talk only about plasmid as a vector, bacteriophage as a vector, right? So NCERT says that plasmids and bacteriophages, they have an ability to replicate within the bacterial cell independent of the chromosomal DNA. This is a bacterial cell. This is the bacterial chromosome, its genomic DNA. One bacteria will have only one copy of the chromosome, and this chromosomal DNA multiplies only at the time of binary fission. The bacterial chromosome only multiplies at the time of when? At the time of binary fission. So that this daughter will get one DNA and this daughter will get one chromosomal DNA. But in the same plasmid, in the same bacteria, many plasmids will be there. In the same bacteria, many plasmids will be there. Means plasmid, how it can be in many number of copies? Means plasmids are autonomous replicating elements. They don't depend upon the host enzymes and host machineries for replication. They know if they depend on that, they can replicate once in 20 minutes only. So that is why they have their own origin of replication sites. They have their own genes which can code for the enzymes which are required for plasmids. So NCERT says that plasmids and bacteriophages also, virus also, it can multiply in the bacterial host very fast, independent of the bacterial DNA replication, right? Plasmids and bacteriophages have ability to replicate. NCERT says plasmids and bacteriophages. Plasmids and bacteriophages, they have ability to replicate. They have ability to replicate in the bacterial cell independent of the chromosomal DNA. Where are they replicating? In bacterial cell. How are they replicating? Independent of the chromosomal DNA. In bacterial cell, independent of chromosomal DNA. It's not like when the chromosome replicates, then only they are replicating. No, whenever it wants, it can replicate. Understood? And again, compare plasmid and bacteriophage. In one bacteria, one plasmid or two plasmids or 15 or 100 plasmids will be there, but 200 or 300 viruses can accommodate inside. So means bacteriophages have even high copy number. Plasmids maximum copy number per cell is 100, but bacteriophages have even high copy number than plasmid. Bacteriophage means virus, right? The virus which infects bacteria is called bacteriophage. So, bacteriophage has even high copy number than plasmid. Has even high copy number than plasmid. So, in a cell, how many plasmids can be there? Minimum is 1 or 2, maximum is 15 to 100. But in a bacterial cell, if one virus infects, you know how many virions will come? 100 or 200 or more than 200 virions will come. Now come on, tell me, who is having high copy number? Plasmid, bacteriophage, virus only has high copy number. Understood? Now, this is about the natural plasmid and natural viruses. But scientists are doing genetic engineering. They're manipulating the genes. They're creating new combinations. So, if they can create new combinations, is it a big task for them to reconstruct a vector? To create a new vector also? No. They have reconstructed vectors. By which technique? By genetic engineering. They are reconstructing vectors in such a way that selection becomes easy. What is selection? Now, how does the Medical Council of India select like who can become doctors? Now, it will conduct a test. Now, whoever scored well, whoever get good rank, they have an option to take an entry, take an admission in MBBS courses. In the same manner, we also should see in which bacteria the recombinant vector is there. That only we will select, right? So, reconstructed vectors are engineered in such a way that selection of the recombinant bacteria becomes easy. You will understand this point slowly as we go on. Understood? Now, let us talk about plasmid and bacteriophages separately. Now, I will start with plasmid straight ahead. Let me talk about plasmid. So, this is a high-end topic. Biotechnology itself is a high-end topic. Slowly, you will understand. Okay. Now, who are the scientists who first discovered plasmids? Who are the scientists who first discovered plasmid? Means it was discovered by Hayes and Liederberg in the year 1952. Who discovered plasmids? Plasmids were discovered by Hayes and Liederberg. When? In 1952. Okay, but plasmid as a vector, who identified it? You remember those two scientists? Cohen, right? So, plasmid as vector was identified by, who did it? Cohen, right? Was identified was identified by another scientist called Cohen, right? So plasmids were discovered by Hayes and Liederberg. Plasmid as a vector was identified by Cohen. Now what is the definition of the plasmid? You're seeing here, right? Are they small? Are they ring-like? Are they circular? They are small, ring-like, circular, double-stranded DNA particles. They are double-stranded DNA particles. Now, are they autonomous? Yeah, they can replicate whenever they want. They are autonomous. Autonomous means self-replicating, we can tell. They are autonomous, means they are self-replicating, and they're small, ring-like, circular, double-stranded, chromosomal or extra chromosomal. This is chromosomal. That means this is extra chromosomal genetic element. It is extra chromosomal genetic element. Plasmid is extra chromosomal genetic element which acts as a vector, right? So they are located freely in the cytoplasm. Yeah, we can write they float freely in cytoplasm. Children, all these are the characteristics of plasmids. So they are small, you can make out. They are ring-like, they are circular, they are double-stranded DNA particles. They autonomously replicate, means they are self-replicating. They are not chromosomal, they are extra chromosomal genetic elements. Float freely in the cytoplasm. They float freely in the cytoplasm. Understood? This is a definition of plasmid, and discovery by this person and use as vector by this person. Now, there are natural plasmids also. There are constructed plasmids also. There are natural plasmids also. There are constructed plasmid, reconstructed plasmids also. See, there are some characters or features which we tell an ideal plasmid. An ideal plasmid, if it acts as a vector, it should have all these characteristics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But wild plasmid may not have all the desirable characters at one stretch. Whereas if you are given a choice to construct a vector, yes, you know this is required, this is required, this is required, then you can construct it accordingly. So wild plasmids, natural plasmids may not have all the ideal characteristics what a plasmid or a vector required. Whereas reconstructed plasmid, you know, it will have all the qualities, and two popular reconstructed plasmids are there. One reconstructed plasmid is PBR 322. Diagram is there in NCERT. Another popular plasmid is PUC 101, 102, like that. This is the series, okay? So majorly if you understand PBR, it goes on. Majorly if you understand PUC, it goes on. So PBR and PUC, are they natural plasmids or constructed plasmids? They are constructed plasmids, right? So what do you mean by constructed plasmids? Constructed plasmids means like if it is having 5 regions, this region you bought from somewhere, another region you borrowed from somewhere, another region you borrowed from somewhere, and you are joining all of them to make a single compact structure. Understood? So PBR is constructed by which scientist? P stands for plasmid, right? BR stands for the names of the scientists who constructed it. The names of the scientists are Bolivar and Rodriguez. Who constructed PBR vector? Was constructed by Bolivar. Bolivar, one scientist. Rodriguez, Rodriguez, another scientist. These two people constructed this vector. PUC, in that U and C stands for the place where it was made. University of California. PUC stands for University of California. So the scientists did not take the credit here. The scientists are given the credit to the university where it was made. So the two constructed vectors which we have to study, which we will study, PBR 322 and PUC vector. Now natural plasmid means the wild plasmids, like we have R plasmids is a natural plasmid. Col plasmid we have. F plasmids we have. So these are natural plasmids, children. Understood till here? So what did I teach you in this board? So we were telling that NCERT says plasmids and bacteriophages, they are vectors. Why? Because they have an ability to replicate inside the cell independent of the chromosomal DNA. Then I told we will talk about plasmids first. Plasmid was discovered by which scientist? Hayes and Liederberg. Who told plasmid can act as vector? Cohen. What are plasmids? They are small, ring-like, circular, double-stranded DNA particles which can autonomously replicate, which are extra chromosomal genetic elements which freely float in the cytoplasm. And how many types of plasmids are there? Natural is there, reconstructed is there. Natural, I gave the examples. We don't want natural in biotechnology gene cloning. We want recombinant plasmids. Now, take a screenshot. We will follow NCERT. We will draw the diagram of PBR and understand the ideal characteristics of PBR or plasmid 322. Right? So now, can we draw the structure of PBR 322 now? It's there in NCERT also, and we will take that as a reference to study what are the ideal characteristics that a plasmid should possess. Are you enjoying the lectures? Yeah? So you can comment in the comment box. If you like the content informative, you can share it with your friends, right? So they will also, it will also be helpful for them. Now come on. So what are we talking about? We want to see the structure of PBR 322. We want to see the structure of PBR 322. Here we go. Is it a natural plasmid or a constructed plasmid? I told it is a constructed plasmid. Yeah. This is an ideal vector PBR 322, which is constructed by, it is a reconstructed plasmid. P stands for plasmid. B and R for the scientist who constructed it. Their names are Bolivar and Rodriguez. And 322 is an identification number of that plasmid. Your roll number is your identification number. 322 is its roll number, identification of the plasmid. 322 is there, 24, 26, 27, like that. A series is there. Now, an ideal plasmid should have how many characters? So, it needs an ORI site. An ideal plasmid should have an ORI site. Okay. And it needs a ROP gene also. It needs a ROP gene also. An ideal plasmid should also have two selectable markers. Here are the two selectable markers. It needs two selectable markers. One selectable marker, here it is tetracycline resistant marker, and here is ampicillin resistant gene marker. We'll write small a as the textbook says, AMPR, ampicillin resistant gene marker and tetracycline resistant gene marker. And restriction enzymes we studied. So you need to cut the plasmid with restriction enzymes, then only you can open the plasmid, right? So means recognition sites for restriction enzymes should be there. Where are they? What are they? Also let us see. Now in ampicillin there are two gene markers. In tetracycline also there are two gene markers. Now here there are three gene markers. With the ROP there is one gene marker, and the names of the gene markers are ampicillin resistant gene marker. Ampicillin resistant gene has two restriction enzymes cutting sites. One is PVU1 and PST1. ROP gene has for which enzyme? PVU2. tetracycline gene has for which enzymes? BAM, H1, SAL1. Here for 3 enzymes. So the first one is EcoR1, the popular enzyme. Second one is CLA1 and the third one is HIND3. So count, children. Totally how many antibiotic resistant genes are there? How many antibiotic resistant genes are there? There are 2 antibiotic resistant gene markers, ampicillin and tetracycline. And so for replication, it needs a region. What is that region called? ORI site it needs. It has an ORI site. And it requires enzymes which are required for its replication. That is ROP gene. Okay, so we'll discuss one by one. This is the structure we draw. Now let us discuss. What are the ideal characteristics a plasmid should possess? Ideal characteristics that a plasmid should possess. What are they? One by one we will see. A plasmid should have ORI site. What is ORI site? ORI site is the region from where the replication starts. Now when I am starting the chapter, I will start from the first page, introduction onwards. Then only you can understand it in a flow. Like that, if the DNA should replicate, it starts at a point. That point where replication starts is called as ORI site. What is ORI site? It is the sequence where replication starts. This is a place where plasmid replication starts. And after this ORI site, if you give your DNA, insulin DNA, vaccine DNA, if you give, that will also replicate. So your gene is getting cloned. Okay, so that is a significance of ORI site. The first one is called ORI site. What did I tell? What is ORI site? ORI site is the sequence where replication starts. So write down, it is a sequence where replication starts. It is a sequence where replication starts. Now, any gene which is inserted after ORI site will also get replicated, right? So, any piece linked to it also gets replicated, right? Any piece of DNA which is inserted after it, not within it, don't disturb the ORI site, after it also gets replicated. It can also gets replicated because the function of ORI is to replicate only, right? ORI site also decides the copy number. Now see, what is that? High copy number, low copy number. We told a bacterial cell will have 1 or 2 plasmids only. Another bacteria is there. It is having 15 to 100 plasmids. How is it possible? This bacteria has 1 or 2 plasmids only. Another bacteria is having 15 to 100 plasmids. What is the difference? In this bacteria, the plasmids ORI site is weak. So, it cannot multiply beyond 2. After that, it gets tired. Whereas the other bacteria, where the plasmid is there, it is having a high ORI site, strong ORI site. That strong ORI site keeps on multiplying and it makes many number of plasmids. So, that means the ORI site also controls the copy number. High copy number, low copy number of the linked DNA? Yes. So, we can tell that ORI site also, it's not only replicating, it's controlling the copy number. Low copy number, high copy number. It also controls the copy number of the linked genes. If you link any genes, that DNA's copy number is decided by the strength of the ORI site. Strong ORI site, what it will do? It will support high copy number. Weak ORI site will support low copy number. So, strong ORI site, what it will do? It will support high copy number. That's it all about ORI site. I told, conserve ORI site, don't break it. Enzyme site within the ORI site. We know it's very precious, we should not disturb it. Now let's talk about the other region. What is that ROP gene also I want to tell here. What is the second thing plasmid should possess? ROP gene. Now let us see what is ROP gene. You are telling that plasmids are autonomous replicating element. They can replicate by themselves. They don't depend on the bacterial chromosomal DNA replication. So means, how is it possible? Means the plasmids can synthesize their own enzymes which are required for the replication of the plasmid. For plasmid to replicate, it needs some enzymes, no? All the enzymes are synthesized from this gene, children. ROP gene codes for the enzymes which are required for plasmid replication. Come on, ROP gene will code for the enzymes which are required for replication of a plasmid. That is why it's not depending upon the chromosomal DNA or on the host for its replication. That is why plasmid is called autonomous, right? Let us write on. ROP gene, what it will do? ROP gene codes for the enzymes. It codes for the enzymes which are required for the R for replication of plasmid, which are required for R for replication, O for of plasmid. For multiplying the plasmid, what and all enzymes are required? ROP gene will code it. So, but unfortunately, ROP gene has one restriction enzymes recognition site, but we know that and we should not touch it. We should not touch it. Understood? So, we have seen the role of ORI site, we have seen the role of ROP gene. And plasmid is like this. Plasmid is a vector. It is carrying your desired DNA to the host cell. Now, if you have to insert into that, you have to open it up. You have to make it like this. So, for opening, you need to cut it up. How will you cut it? With restriction enzymes. So, then it should have restriction enzyme recognition sites. Yes. PBR has how many recognition sites for how many restriction enzymes? If you count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So, PBR has 8 recognition sites. PBR has 8 recognition sites for 8 enzymes. Check there. Are there 2 sites for EcoR1? No, only 1. Are there 2 sites for PVU1? No. For PVU1, 1. For PVU2, 1. Means for each enzyme, it is having 1 recognition site only. This is what we call unique recognition sites. For one enzyme, only 1 site. So that if you cut it, 1 opening only will happen. If you keep more than 1 site, if you open it, here also it will open, here also it will open, unnecessarily 2, 3, 4 fragments you will get. Again, it's a headache for you to join all those things. So that is why plasmid has unique recognition sites for restriction enzymes. What do you mean by unique recognition sites? For one restriction enzyme, only 1 site. If more than 1 site is there, it will complicate the process. That's it. Now, let us write that point also. Plasmid possesses unique recognition sites. Plasmid possesses unique recognition sites for restriction enzymes. I am writing REN, right, for restriction enzymes. What do you mean by unique recognition sites for restriction enzyme? Means 1 site for 1 enzyme only. If more than 1 site is present, more fragments will come. It will complicate the process. So far, what did we see the ideal characteristics of a plasmid vector? It should have an ORI site. Yes, it has. It should have a segment which codes for the proteins which are required for its replication, not depending on the host. Yes, it has. It should have unique recognition sites for restriction enzymes so that you can cut it, open it, keep your desired DNA. Yes, it has. How many it has? PBR 322 is having 8 sites for 8 restriction enzymes. Next one. So, what are these sites called? Since these are the sites where restriction enzyme will cut open, you'll keep your DNA and you'll clone your DNA here. These sites are called cloning sites. So these sites are also called cloning sites. These sites are also called cloning sites. And the next character is restriction. A vector should have selectable markers. A vector should have selectable markers. Now, board is not sufficient. Take a screenshot. Then we will write about the selectable markers in the next board. Yeah, can I erase it? We'll write about selectable markers again here. I'm telling that a vector should have at least 2 selectable markers. A vector should have at least 2 selectable markers. PBR has what selectable marker? PUC has what selectable marker? Let's see. Let's see. So here is PBR. Our fourth point is about selectable markers. And I am telling a vector should possess at least 2 selectable markers. Okay. At least 2 markers should be there. Now, a PBR vector has 2 markers. Both the markers which are present in PBR are antibiotic resistant markers which code for antibiotic resistant. Here it is ampicillin resistant gene marker, tetracycline resistant gene marker. So, PBR gene markers are antibiotic resistant markers. PBR markers are antibiotic resistant markers. How many antibiotic resistant markers are there? One is ampicillin resistant gene marker, AMPI. Ampicillin resistant gene marker. Next one is tetracycline resistant gene marker. Another vector is there. What is that? PUC vector. PUC8 or PUC101. It also has 2 gene markers. One gene marker is antibiotic resistant gene marker. Other gene marker is an enzyme marker, LAGZ gene marker. So PUC has ampicillin resistant gene marker and LAGZ gene marker. Why are we asking for 2 gene markers? Why are we asking for 2 gene markers? Means when you are opening, when you are supposed to keep your desired DNA, we will try to keep the desired DNA in one gene marker's place. Means we will try to keep our desired DNA here. Okay. So if you want to keep your desired DNA here, then you need to cut it either with PVU1 or PST1, or if you want to keep your desired DNA with tetracycline resistant gene marker, then also you need to cut open it either with BAMH1 enzyme or SAL1 enzyme. We will cut it, right? So out of these 2 gene markers, one marker is used to insert the DNA. The other marker is used to identify. Selection or screening is there, right? The other marker is used to, will help us in selection or screening to identify the recombinants from non-recombinants. Okay. So let us write on what are the roles of the 2 gene markers, right? At least 2 gene markers. In one gene marker, target DNA. Target DNA is also called alien DNA is introduced. Alien DNA is introduced. So one gene marker is always meant for introducing your foreign DNA, while the other gene marker helps in selection. You can also call screening. While other gene marker helps in selection or screening to eliminate non-transformants from transformants, helps in selection or screening and to eliminate non-transformants from transformants. It will help us to eliminate the bacteria which participated in transformation to the other bacteria which did not participate in transformation. I'll show you those techniques now. Understood? What are the ideal characters a vector should possess? Orycyta? Yeah. Rob gene which codes for the enzymes which are required for replication of plasmida? Yeah. It should have unique restriction sites for restriction enzymes? Yeah. And it should have at least 2 gene markers. Into one gene marker, we will introduce rDNA. Another gene marker will help us to select the bacteria in which the rDNA is there, right? So now, selection or screening. When we want to do selection or screening, there are 2 methods, children. One is called master plate, replica plate method. One is called master plate, replica plate method, and the other method is called insertional inactivation method. Another method is called insertional inactivation method. There are 2 techniques which come under selection and screening. One method is master plate replica plate method. Another method is insertional inactivation method. You want to take a screenshot, then we'll talk about the master plate replica plate method. Right. So we'll see one method in this lecture, other method we'll do it in the other lecture. Now, this is my foreign DNA, okay? This is my foreign DNA. Now, I'm going with master plate replica plate method. I'm going with master plate replica plate technique. Now, first I need to cut open the PBR. Now, I'll cut it with BAMH1 enzyme. I'll cut it there. I am going to introduce my foreign DNA in the place of tetracycline. So, what I will do? I will digest. This is a vector. This is a foreign DNA. We are digesting both of them with the same restriction enzyme, that is BAMH1. So, I think we have done 2 lectures about restriction enzymes. You can see there what is BAMH1, what is SAL1, what sequences do they identify. So, when we digest with BAMH1, then the foreign DNA, both the ends BAMH1 sites will be there. BAMH1 complementary sites will be there, and the plasmid also, children, will open like this. This much got opened. BAMH1 got opened. See, here it is opening, here it is opening. When it opens like this, then what we will do? We will do DNA ligation. DNA ligase enzyme we will give now. When you give DNA ligase enzyme, this comes and joins this. Since they are complementary, so they will join. So, for our understanding, why can't we use another color? Foreign DNA. After you digest, it will be BAMH1. Now, this is introduced like this. DNA ligase has joined. Now, what you got now is a recombinant vector. What you got now is a rDNA vector. Now, this rDNA vector has its ampicillin resistant gene marker because you did not disturb this gene marker, but yeah, you disturbed tetracycline gene marker. This we disturbed, right? In that place you brought your gene, right? Now, this recombinant DNA vector, is it having ampicillin resistant gene? Yes, 100%. Is it having tetracycline? No. So, can I write it as tetracycline sensitive? Yes, it is tetracycline sensitive. Now, we will try to send it now into the host by using a technique called transformation. By using a technique called transformation. When we send it into a bacteria, now we will get 3 types of bacterial colonies. We will get 3 types of bacterial colonies. Now, meanwhile, another possibility is also there. These two are complementary to each other, right? They're sticky ends, right? before this comes, what happens, it will self-ligate among each other. So this will join and it will become plain again. So such a type of vector also will be there. Even though you opened, before this comes, it gets self-ligated. Now in this, its amphicycline is also intact with it. Its tetracycline is also intact with it. Now such a type of plasmid is amphicycline resistant, tetracycline also resistant. So when you do transformation, you get 3 types of bacteria. Bacteria type 1, type 2, type 3. This is the bacteria, lazy bacteria, rigid bacteria, did not attend the class, did not participate in transformation, not willing to take anything. So what is such bacteria called? Non-transformed bacteria. It did not participate in transformation only, no children. Non-transformed bacteria. Did it take the vector? No. So will it have amphicycline resistant gene? No. Will it have tetracycline resistant gene? No, nothing it has. Now, but this bacteria, good bacteria, participated in transformation. So call you are a good bacteria and you are a transformed bacteria. This is also equally good bacteria because this also participated in transformation. It took. This is also transformed bacteria. But I will tell this is lucky bacteria. This is unlucky bacteria because it participated in transformation, but it took the vector which is having the recombinant DNA. This took the vector, unaltered vector, same vector it took. So we are not going to pick this colonist, we'll pick this colonist only. This is a transformed bacteria. This is a transformed bacteria with recombinant, right? So this is transformed bacteria with altered vector, unaltered vector, altered vector. Transformed bacteria with altered vector. Whereas there is no alteration here with the unaltered vector. If it is altered vector, amphicycline, though it is there, tetracycline not there. So it will be amphicycline resistant but tetracycline sensitive because it is not there in that place you kept your gene. This one, both are there. Amphicycline is there, tetracycline is there. So keep writing. Amphicycline are, tetracycline also are. So like this, after doing transformation, Amma, you will get 3 types of bacteria, right? So in this, which one do you want? This one, where nothing is there, we also don't want it. This one, where your foreign DNA is not there, what will you do with this? Your DNA is not there. We don't want this also. We want only this bacteria. How will you select it? This is what is called selection or screening. Now we will do selection or screening. We will go for selection or screening. The method we are doing is master plate, replica plate method. So prepare a petri dish. Prepare a petri dish. For preparing petri dish, you need nutrient agar solution. You need bacteria will grow in nutrient agar medium. Take a nutrient agar, dissolve it, pour it, and add an antibiotic called amphicycline. Which antibiotic we need to add? Ampicillin antibiotic we need to add. When we add amphicycline antibiotic, then what happens? Tell me. This bacteria, which is not having amphicycline resistant gene marker, resistant or sensitive? Sensitive, no? If it is sensitive, if we give amphicycline, it will live, it will die. It will die, no? So one, will it grow there? Second bacteria, it's having amphicycline resistant gene, so it has an ability to grow. Third bacteria also has amphicycline resistant gene, has an ability to grow. So ma, 2 will grow, 3 will grow. 2 will grow, 3 will grow. So this plate is called master plate. So in master plate, you are able to eliminate 1 from 2 and 3. Means in master plate, we were able to eliminate non-transformants from transformants, correct? In master plate, we were able to eliminate the bacteria which did not participate in transformation from the bacteria which participated in transformation. You don't want 3 also. You want only 2. Then do replica plate. Then go with replica plate technique. Take a new petri dish. Again prepare the medium. Nutrient agar medium. This time add the second antibiotic, tetracycline. This time add the second antibiotic, tetracycline. Now just check. This bacteria, will it grow? Is it resistant or sensitive? Sensitive. It can't grow, it will die. Check this, it is having, it will grow. So, since this bacteria is tetracycline resistant, this can grow. Whereas this bacteria, which is tetracycline resistant, cannot grow. And why did you call this as a replica plate? Because you need to take a cheesecloth and give the replica here. Means this dot should come here, this dot should come here. Exact replica we need to maintain. And just now we are telling that this bacteria is sensitive, it can't grow. This bacteria is resistant to tetracycline, it will go. So 3 will grow, whereas 2 is not growing, where in the replica plate. But which one you want? You want 2 bacteria na, third bacteria na? You want the second bacteria in which your DNA is there, right? Is it there here in replica plate? No. Where it is? In the master plate. So then go to the master plate, pick the colonies, go to biotechnology, bioreactor and do the processing, right? So this is called selection or screening. We have 2 methods. One method is called master plate, replica plate. Here is a master plate, here is a replica plate. And this is the technique how to do selection or screening. I took tetracycline gene. I inactivated tetracycline gene by digesting it with BAMH1. So then I got BAMH1 sites here. Here also I got BAMH1 sites. Then I used DNA ligase. I joined it. Then I got a recombinant vector. I tried to send the vector into the host. This is a good bacteria. It listened to our instructions. It took it. This is a lazy bacteria. Did not participate in transformation. It's a non-transformed bacteria. So it will not have resistance for both the genes. This one, unlucky bacteria, participated in transformation, but it couldn't take this one. It took the vector in which both the genes are there. So we don't want this, we don't want this, we want only this. For that, we need to do selection in this manner. So in this lecture, we talked about cloning vectors, we talked about vectors for bacteria, we told plasmids, bacteriophages, hybrid vectors, back are the vectors. We were with the plasmids and we are discussing what are the ideal characteristics of a plasmid. It should have ORI site, ROP gene, unique restriction sites for enzymes, antibiotic resistant markers. Now in the next lecture, we have one more method of selection or screening, insertion and activation. That we will do, and we will see if virus is a vector, how it will take the desired DNA into the host. Hope the content is informative. If you like the content, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.